Guy Ottawa here with a clip of Nassim Haramein and that Godswami guy talking about the mechanical dynamics of the spin that's at the center of every atom and at the center of every galaxy. That is the reason for gravity, that keeps particles together. It's fascinating stuff. So they're talking about, yes, information is important, and the transfer of information around the universe is important, and information with regards to consciousness is important. But the mechanics of the spin, the movement that makes when it slides in and out of existence in our universe, is got to be the focus of at least equal attention.
This is the amazing thing. We talk about consciousness, and serious scientists have to hear it. They may not like it, but have to hear it. The evidence of quantum physics is so straightforward that there is this interconnectedness. Whatever name you call it, hardly matters. You know, spiritual traditions will continue to call it God and picture God as an emperor, but if you imagine this emperor to be, you know, suitably non-local, why not? You know, could a non-local person have this wand that he or she or it swindles and things happen? Why not? It's your picture. You can make any picture you like of this non-local something that is one thing that is all interconnected. We cannot deny that there is something of that sort. That we cannot deny. We cannot deny vital energy. We cannot deny that because vital energy is represented in matter. Consciousness is represented in the brain, certainly. Consciousness and vital energy is represented in the brain and the body. Mind is represented in the neocortex. We cannot deny it. The experiences clearly suggest, and more experiences are suggesting that these things are quantum, and they are all coming from collapse of possibility waves from consciousness. So these ideas that we had about empty space, so much of empty space and so little matter, I'll tell you the latest one. And please, this is, I don't usually speak like this, but this is an alternative medicine university. Nobody will throw me out from this.
It's broadcast like that.
So you can talk like this. The newest finding is astounding. The newest finding, and you should listen to this, I probably already have thought about this. It's telling us that all the work that we do with matter, we do with a caveat. Because this visible matter that we know, that's only a small part of the material universe. There is another kind of subtle matter. People call it dark matter for their own reasons. I don't think it's dark, it just is subtle matter itself. Matter itself has taken on some subtleties that enables them to even make better representations of mind, vital, and even supramental, even of love.
So yeah, I think along the same lines that information. When I think of information, first of all, like when a physicist talk about information in terms of quantum theory or quantum physics, actually they're talking about position of things relative to other things, like the entry velocity of a particle through the event horizon of a black hole, for instance, determine a very specific set of information on that surface. But when I think of information, and I think of, you know, as I solve with this information network of the quantum field for the proton mass and the proton radius, I'm thinking about the mechanics of the information. And when I think of the mechanics of the information from the equations I've wrote, but as well from observation, the first thing that pops into my head is spin, is angular momentum, is vortex structure of dynamics in the structure of space-time, like a fluid, where the vortex co-moving dynamics of Planck oscillators in the region of space produce mass, of what we call, you know, mass or gravitational field. And so these equations I showed you this morning does support that. And so what is important in that for me is that when I visualize influencing the field, I visualize vortices, I visualize rotation, I visualize dynamics. And because in physics we have a tendency to put everything in 2D, to reduce dimensions to 2D, so we think of an electromagnetic wave, for instance, as a thing that's going up and down on an oscilloscope screen. Well, you know, it just happens that it's just not like that. You know, actually, that up and down motion is a vorticular dynamics in the structure of space. And when we examine that vorticular dynamics in the structure of space really closely, we see that, in fact, it is the space itself that's carrying information over distances. And so when I start visualizing this way, I don't know for you guys, but for me, I start to feel the vortex dynamics that makes up my existence, the dynamics of the field that makes up my existence.
Your side.
and as Ahmed was discussing dark energy and dark matter, we saw this morning that we can solve dark energy by expanding the proton to the size of the universe, and all of a sudden we get the right answer for the cosmological constant, or the energy of the vacuum, which is 72% of the missing mass. The rest is dark matter, and this dark matter you know, it can start to be understood when we realize, because we had to pack the dark matter around galaxies to make galaxy exist. If you just take the current theories and you solve for a galaxy, all the stars should have been flying out of there a long time ago. And so we pack this dark matter, something we can't see, around it to make it so it can exist. But actually, if we start to understand that the galaxy is actually a result of the field already orbiting, just like when you stir your coffee and it's spinning and it's black coffee, you can't see the spin in there until you put the cream. The cream being the dust and the plasma and the stars in the galaxy makes you see a pattern that's already present. Just like a hurricane is a pattern in the air, right? Which if it didn't have moisture, you wouldn't see it, right? It'd still be there. So this is the same in terms of galaxy. When I start thinking that way, I feel the chi force, you know, the spinning power of the chi force, and I feel that I can influence it and create these spinning patterns and apply them to healing and so on. So I totally think that it has to do with information in the field, but as well, more importantly, the dynamic mechanics of how that information moves through the field like a fluid. Oh my God, I love it. Thank you.
You know, in a sense, you know, I think very young I had a ha-ha moment, and I think that opened my mind.
Right.
And I think you know, layperson needs that aha moment to open their mind.
Yeah.
So what would be a ha-ha moment that you could share with us that would blow our minds, dude?
Dude.
No, it's a brand new question.
I remember the question now.
Okay, good.
Well, you know, like you, I think that when I realized that the material world is not so material. That's why, you know, when people say we want a science that's a non-materialistic science, then I have to ask, what is material? You know, what is material science? It is studying a field of energy that we call material. You know, so a non-material science can't really exist because there's nothing that is what we call material. And so really what we want to know is how the material gets there, like how, like with the thing that we call material. And for me, I mean, it was early on, it became really, really clear, oh my God, it's the space that holds the information that makes up the material. We're just looking at denser or less dense space, or various phases of space. Some phases appear to us as an atom, as a proton. Some appear to us as electromagnetic fields, and so on. And so, I agree with you that the space has most likely, you know, various components, and it can't just all be compacted into this quantum fluctuation of the Planck oscillators. But from these Planck oscillators, we start to get a glimpse of this dynamic of the space that makes up the reality we live in. And from this glimpse, we start to have a better understanding of the mechanics and the dynamics that makes that happen. And it's so critical that we understand these mechanics, because from them, now we start to know how to engineer the space. And I don't mean it just in terms of like making devices in laboratory, that too, but as well as an individual being able to start to understand how to influence the so-called subtle energy of the space to get effects that can have profound result in your own body, in the body of others, and in the way you live your life and you interact with the universe. And so for me, what's important is that more we can quantify those dynamics and understand them at the deepest level, more influence and more capability we have to visualize them and interact with them to create this field of energy that can have really impactful effect on ourselves, on peoples around us, and on our society as a whole. So it's that great search. And I think we're starting to see the glimpse of it. And it definitely goes against what quantum theory teaches today, which is it's all, you know, voodoo. It cannot be visualized. You know, it's some kind of quantum weirdness. Particles are connected at the distance. We don't know why, but they are. And now we're starting with this new view to understand why things are connected, how they're connected, what are the mechanics that connects them, and be able to influence these mechanics so that we obtain a world that is more harmonious with the natural environment.